So it's not Linus's favorite case, but what do I think? Stay tuned. Okay guys, first I want to say thanks to Fractal Design for sending over the Core 3500. This is the new top of the line Core Series case. In the little packet here we get your manual and your warning. Big red thing that I'm not going to read. On the front we have the typical, I guess more standard these days, the plastic brushed aluminum, which I love. I think it looks great and it doesn't fingerprint like real aluminum. And you got two 5 1/4 bays. But we're immediately going to go to the first concern I have with this case. I am not a fan of the side ventilation at an angle like this. I really wish they would have gone more like the Arc series, where it has a nice removable grill in the front. We can take off the front here and take a look on the inside. You see how small the ventilation is. You know, it's not even the whole thing, because there's these little, little cutouts, and I don't think that's enough. Personally, it might be enough for the single 140 that's in here. But in my opinion, if you populate a second fan, I'm really worried that it's going to be choked by the amount of radiator space. Also, cleaning this off is going to be kind of not the easiest or most fun thing in the world. We have one normal size 5 1/4 with a 5 1/4 adapter, which you can make a 3.5 inch to put like a controller in, or knock the whole thing out for a 5 1/4. We have our R2 Silent Series fan, one of my favorite airflow fans on the market. Comes beautifully braided. The room for the second one down below. Your power and reset kind of close together for my taste. I'd like to see those separated by something, because you can very easily bump one when you're going for the other. Your hard drive LED, headphone, microphone, and two USB 3.0. R2 Silent Series fan, and has room for two 140 millimeters or 220 millimeters. The 120 millimeters are offset, so if you have a 120 millimeter radiator, you're going to be able to fit that in there just fine. However, when you see the inside, we do have some concerns about spacing issues with 280 millimeter rads. On the back, you have another 140. Your fan controller, which is the first place I'm really going to agree with Linus. We'll get to that on the inside. Your motherboard knockout, 2, 4, 6, 7 PCI slots, and your PSU. Everything's folded. There's no hard edges, and it actually, for like I said, for a value case, it is pretty stiff. They folded it in a way that it gives it a little more support. We see yet more typical Fractal Design things that I really like. And one nice thing here is the old Core series did not have rubber grommets, at least the one case that I reviewed. So it's nice to see they've added the rubber grommets. I would have liked to seen the 5 1/4 bays connected to this back plate, because the back plate, it's not it's not super flimsy. It's actually a little more sturdy than some of the videos I've seen. But the 5 1/4 bays are a little loose. It would have been nice just to see something right here. So maybe that could add a couple of rivets just to give it a little more support. In the bottom we have, and we'll take this out from the back side and see if I can get it out of there. We have your accessory case with, typical all Fractal black screws. Wouldn't expect anything else. Fractal does give you a lot of cable management punch outs, but I would have liked to have seen more. I really would like to see manufacturers start putting some cable management punch outs along the top of the board where you route your fans And even down in here, because a lot of people are using this space for SSDs these days, you know, it doesn't take anything to put those punch outs in, especially when you're already putting them in. It'd be nice to see more, especially, like I said, down in the bottom of the case, up the back side of the case, and along the top. Even if it was just like 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here, that'd make a big difference. All of the cables are, of course, nice and black all the way to the ends. Look gorgeous. Good job, Fractal. Some of the cases lately really been skimping. And the other thing I like is, even though the connector here is blue, the USB 3 cable is all black, baby. The first thing, of course, is the side window. I love me some Fractal side windows. The nice smoked color, you know, you can just barely see through it. They look gorgeous with some nice white lights in them, in my opinion. I like the black and white themes of these cases, so there you go. Now we're going to get to my first complaint, and this is my biggest complaint. As a matter of fact, it might be one of my only 2 complaints with this case. What in the hell are you doing, Fractal? Why is the fan... What? Every single Fractal case that I've seen until now has either had the controller up here somewhere, or my favorite spot on every case, right in the front, because then I can adjust it while I'm sitting down and I'm like, hey, I need to turn up my fans because I'm doing rendering. I can turn up my fans. Otherwise, I keep them at 5 volt. If I'm rendering, I bump them up to 12 volt. It's awesome. I love the ARC series. What the hell? Like, this is... It feels to me like an intern. Like, they got this case mostly done and handed it over to the intern. Because green PCB? Cables that aren't black all the way to the end? Molex? Really? Molex? And just like they're going to be all over the place when you wire this case. It's just horrible. So frankly, the first thing I would recommend anybody does that buy this case is take out the damn fan controller, because it does remove with 2 screws and you'll just have a little hole in the back of the case, and who cares. The other problem with it here is, how do you get to these? Like, they're factory tight. Like, I can't hand undo these. Like, I could hand undo the back ones. Those were great, but there's no way. And how do you get a screwdriver in there to undo those? So now you're going to have to get a pair of pliers in there to undo it and strip the nice black, and I don't know. What you doing? What you doing, Fractal? That aside, the rest of the standards are here. Nice big cutout. Awesome. Still my industry favorite drive caddies. So 2.5 or 3.5. The awesome, these are my, like, seriously guys, these are my favorite drive caddies of any manufacturer. Nice, huge, thick rubber grommets. They're very stiff, gorgeous powder coating on them, and this is in a value case. So awesome to see. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, which the bottom one's in upside down so they could fit the box in. That's kind of funny. So they could fit the accessory box down there. I've never seen that before, actually. I really do like the feet on this case too. They're actually a hard plastic. I never really talk about case feet, to be honest with you. They're hard plastic, but they kind of are cut out in the middle, and they really slide around nice. I'm not sure if they'll mark up a desk or anything, but on my my table covering here, it just glides around super easy. Of course, on the bottom we do have your typical awesome full coverage mesh. It's going to cover your power supply and the additional fan in the bottom. Of course, that additional fan in the bottom can be a 140 or a 120, or you can move the drive cage back. However, I would not recommend that, because this cage, when it's in its rear position, has almost no support. It's kind of an issue with all of the cases that do that. It's not just a Fractal design issue. You're really giving up some case rigidity to pull this and move it back. Personally, I would rather pull this out completely and put just SSDs on the back. But that comes to my other gripe. One of three, but I still think this is a good case. What are you doing? The ARC series, the new ARC, the R2s, have the little caddy that goes on the back and screws in from the back. This just has the little screw holes so that you can put two SSDs on the back. Now, frankly, that means I'm using Velcro. You might as well not even put the holes there, because I'm not going to put screws through this side into SSDs when it means that if I have to remove an SSD, I'm going to have to remove the motherboard, which means you're tearing your entire system apart. Other than that, that's pretty much it. The top of the case doesn't have a lot of headroom, guys. So as you can see, the one fan, or if you can see, the single fan is almost at the top of the board. So you're not really going to fit a 280 rad in the top of this case. It's going to interfere with your 8-pin and your RAM. Even a 240 might have clearance issues. You're definitely not going to do push-pull, but I wouldn't say you're going to anyways. And you're going to have to use a thin rad. So if you use something like a Corsair H100i, you're probably going to be fine. Otherwise, I would say just go air cooling with this case, because the air cooling potential in this thing, isn't bad. Other than the front vents that I'm not a big fan of. You can always throw an extra fan down the bottom. That's actually my recommendation, guys. If you do want more airflow in this case, I would say use a shorter power supply. Put another 140 in the bottom of this case. Do not populate that extra front slot. I think that would be a much better use of airflow in this case, especially because you are going to get some air up across the motherboard that way too. So guys, after watching Linus's videos, I really was getting into this case thinking, man, I'm just going to hate it. And that's going to be 2 Fractal Design reviews in a row where I trash a Fractal case. But I'm going to be really honest with you. One of the things is in a lot of this price point Fractal case. So the Core series, none of them have had the caddies to this point. I wish they would just include the caddies or remove the holes. Like, just either get rid of it or make it a better feature. No harm, no foul. The front ventilation, I'm just not a fan of that kind of ventilation on any case. So it's not just a Fractal Design thing. I like the rounded corners of the older cases. I like the rounded corners of the ARC series. And I like the front ventilation and the removable fan filter on the front of the ARC series. The one thing that I just don't understand, I don't get it at all, is the fan controller. And the nice thing about that is you can just take it out. So if you're looking for a nice mid-tower, good value, has a window, I still think it has that Fractal quality. It doesn't feel cheap to me. After watching Linus's video about flex in the top, I really, there's a little, but I just don't see, the stuff that he was complaining about. I give it a thumbs up. Just take that thing off, for God's sakes. This is Tim for Timmy Tech TV. Thanks for watching the review of the Fractal Design Core 3500. And as the plane goes overhead, we'll see you next time.